Good Monday morning, traders and investors. This is Joel Alcana, and welcome to Monday's edition pre-market info. Starting out the show today with Mighty Joe Young. Joe, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you today, Joel?
Not too bad, not too bad. Sounds like we got a little bit of the Monday morning blues going around the office. I guess everyone just their mind must be on Good Friday and all that holiday shopping. It's come not Good Friday, Black
Black
Friday.
Friday. Black
Yeah,
Friday.
I'm a little bit off,
Or
but
as retailers like to call it, Gold Friday.
yeah, we'll have to talk about some of these retailers later in the show. But before we bring the other boys in, news that this was read at Barron's over the weekend, and Barron's was being a little bit of sarcastic about people being allowed to use cell phones on flights, perhaps during the whole flight, Joe. And boy, that sounds like something that's even going to make flying more appealing.
Yeah, well, as great as it will be able to take phone calls in the air, personally, I wouldn't do it because I don't want anyone listening to my conversation. And I really think that there's going to have to be some common courtesy on the airlines now, so that if you're on a 3-hour flight, you don't want to inconvenience everyone else with your 3-hour phone conversation.
I think it's going to be total chaos.
I think so too.
I think that flying is already so annoying now. Okay, and it's just like going through security and schlepping your bags and everything. And now you're gonna have these people talking on cell phones. They can't wait. As soon as you land now, they can't wait to whip them out. Now people are going to be talking on the phone constantly. And personally, I think they're going to have to increase the amount of security guards on the flights because people are just going to be scrapping. Someone's just going to be yakking on the phone. Someone else is going to get upset, and I think it's going to be total chaos.
I was going to say now we'll no longer have, it'll be a version of road rage up in the air because it's a fellow passenger may be listening to a phone conversation and be at their wits end, and they might haul off and deck somebody.
What an opportunity for train companies to hop in. If obviously Amtrak isn't the hottest of companies for providing passenger service, but as the experience of flying gets more and more miserable like this, there's got to be a point where trains start getting more appealing and maybe they start stepping up their game a little bit.
Well, but trains have a lot more space to work with because they could actually have like a conversation car or section of the train, whereas an airplane is a little bit more compact and space restrictions are a little bit more of a hassle.
I'm just saying that, if you look at this, what's the straw that's going to break the camel's back? You've got all the fees, you've got the huge security lines, you've got the high prices of tickets. Now you've got guys that are going to be talking on the phone for 3 hours during a flight obnoxiously. What does it take to finally move people out of air transit and into trains or whatever? Or, I don't know.
Interestingly enough, also in airline news today, I believe it was United has taken away priority boarding for people with small children under the age of 4. Did you hear about this, Joel?
No.
They were talking about it on CNBC this morning. So now people with small children have to wait until their zone is called to get on the plane, which is causing some fricas as well because if you're behind someone, or if people with small children are boarding the same time as other passengers, including like business priority passengers, now, how much more time will there be to settle and to get bags on and things like that? That was another piece of news that was out over the weekend, I believe. Priority boarding for children, no more.
Okay. Of course, Barron's needs to put a little bit of a stock twist on it, right? Because if people are going to be yakking on their phones on the flight, perhaps people will want to have headphones so they don't have to listen. And they made a joke out of skull candy here. They make noise cancellation headphones that have obviously have not caught on with the younger generation now. But they mentioned that as potential. Could potentially benefit from this because Bose is a private health company. Can you imagine with all the stuff that you have to schlep on the airplane if you have to bring your noise cancellation headphones so you don't have to hear people yakking?
Actually, though, noise cancellation headphones are a pretty awesome device to have. So I don't think that, most people just carry them around their neck or in their backpack or computer bag or whatever. I think that I don't see as much of an issue with that. Skull Candy could definitely see some positive movement in their shares. I hope,
So
at least.
was Barron's recommending to buy the Skull Candy? Is that what they were recommending here, boys? Or
I think they were being a little sarcastic about it.
Oh, okay.
That,
It's a
because
little more
Bose is
sarcastic.
yeah, they called it a chart that represents an EKG corpse, going up and down. So I think they were mentioning that. But you know what? You can also I know this happened to me. This was several years ago. I was on a flight and they just kept us on the runway for some reason. They just wouldn't let us get in, and I was like several hours. I can't remember what the situation was, and I was starting to get a little bit upset, a little hot under the collar there. And one of the other passengers turned to me and he says, the captain of a boat and the captain of an airplane have the same rules. You know what that rule is?
What's that?
They can throw anybody overboard they want or off the plane. So I don't know. I don't know if it will get down to that point. But just look. I mean, it doesn't seem to be scaring these airline stocks. Dennis, do you have any
Not at all.
airline stocks in your portfolio?
No, I'm not a big fan of the airline stocks just because I already suffered through them, basically through the entire last decade here. If you had any airline stocks, they've obviously been perennial underperformers here. I've never been a big fan. I mean, the best in breed has always been Southwest Airlines. They've always made money despite all of the problems that all the airline industry that has had. Somehow LUV has always found a way to basically be the best in breed there. And if you look at that LUV chart, man, that's from September is just straight up $13 to $18.56. So it's still, outperforming, I think, a lot of the other airlines.
Right, and Delta Airlines has been another one that has been performing well. That
Yeah, but that was a
benefited.
reorg too. So the first people that own that thing, obviously, I don't think are too happy because then that reorg back in like 2007, and they basically the shareholders took the butt of it, and then they reorganized and redid the debt and reissued the stock. Because wasn't that used to be Northwest Airlines Delta? That
It
was
was
like NWA back in the day.
It was a merger. It wasn't a
Yeah.
reorg. It was a merger. Jake, a week or so ago, you were on national TV, right, talking about the airline mergers and the effects on that. What's your
Yeah.
outlook for the airline industry?
I mean, you're still going to, well, at least a couple weeks ago, I was still thinking that, I mean, the last like decade, you've seen a ton of mergers in this space in general. You still got a couple of smaller ones out there. Southwest has been growing a ton, but you have this trend where they're allowing the larger companies to merge, which is letting them hit economies of scale. So now you've got what are your three giants? Now you've got Delta, United, and the New American. So now you've got these scattered providers like JetBlue, Alaska Air, Southwest Airlines that are eventually, I would think, gonna have to kind of come together and pull something together.
Airlines have been hot lately, so you can't argue with the charts. You can't argue with the momentum there. I just don't know fundamentally if I'm still in love with these companies or not. So, like Chris was saying, he's that techno fundamentalist or whatever. I think sometimes I like to play it the same way there, and I like the fundamentals, to line up with the technicals. The technicals in these things look good, though. It's hard to fight these rocket ship charts. When you look like United, it's pulled back a bit, UNTD, but that Delta, DAL, and LUV, I mean, these things are straight up. The momentum, the story is, strong right now at least. I just don't know when that story turns.
Unfortunately, it's going to turn, when we have some kind of national disaster in the air. And actually, that was another thing Lisa and I were talking about, with the cell phone devices, as far as, them being another potential way for terrorists to get on the flights. I mean, I don't know how big of a bomb you can pack into a cell phone, but, once you
Well, now
start.
you're scaring everybody here, Joel. Different alternatives here.
Okay, let's get to the market
Let's
then.
move on to the S&P futures before Joel scares the hell out of all our listeners.
It was Lisa. It was Lisa's idea. It wasn't
Oh,
mine.
Lisa, you're scaring everyone. S&P futures trading up 6.5 points here this morning, 1807.75. We closed at 1801. We're up piggybacking maybe on the comments a little bit, obviously the Iran deal, but we're also piggybacking. Goldman Sachs is bullish here this morning, releasing their top trade ideas for 2014, and one of them is to buy the S&P futures.
And short puts probably at the same time get maximum exposure. Just a characteristic of this move, and I'm only going to give one number in the S&Ps because they're only at one number. We closed at 1801 and a quarter, Dennis. We take one tick below that to 1801, and now we're heading up straight north. So as long as that 1801 holds, I don't know, we'll probably go to average range has been 14, 16 handles. If things continue here, we could probably float right up towards that 1820 level.
I don't know what's going to derail it, and that's what we keep saying. And even as the guests keep coming on our show, they all seem to be saying the same thing, like, what's going to derail this market? What's going to derail this market? Something will eventually, derail the market. I just don't know when it's going to happen here because it's just a steady grind north. It's a slow and steady climb. It's kind of a boring market to trade, to be honest with you, because it's a slow, steady grind north. I always prefer the whipsaw markets as a trader, but if you're an investor here, you're loving it. You wake up every morning here, your market's, up another, 0.5% or 0.75%. You're just loving the steady climb here, and quietly this year, what are we up this year? It's got to be like 30% or something. Does anybody know the numbers on what we're actually up this year on the S&P? Because, man, this has been a hell of a year.
I think it's 20-some%, 24%, but that's not including this morning's action. So,
0.36 more.
Right.
I'm seeing almost 27% actually.
27% we're up this year. So that's got to be one of the best years we've had here in a while. Obviously, since the financial crisis, we're up. 666 was the low. I remember saying back with Chris back in the day, we were talking at 666. We were saying, wouldn't it be funny if that ended up being the low? And it did. And obviously, we're up at 1800 here now. So quietly over the last 4.5 years or 5 years since the financial crisis, we've, now almost tripled in price. So the S&P futures definitely showing strength here and continuing to show strength this morning. You were going to say something, Joel, or you move on to gold?
Yeah, I was just gonna talk here about the. I was gonna say what could derail the bull market is if I bought calls on the S&P on the SP. When I think over 1800, I think I'm turning now. But I guess if you're investing in gold, though, it's not the same scenario.
Oh. It doesn't look good here. It's down again this morning. I mean, here's the story. It's a defensive trade. So when the S&P futures, and there's no fear out there, this is just what happens to gold, and it continues to disappoint. We're down here, another $13 here today? Is that what we're down?
I got us down 1540.
1540.
Right. Just croaked right off the open. Couldn't hold settlement. We made a low at 2570. I'm looking at the weekly charts here, and back in mid-July, we had in the rolling contract, we had a low at 1214.80. Still another 13-14 bucks away from there, but we got the weekly chart up here, and that is just not a good looking chart.
No, and all the miners look terrible here too. Barrick Gold, we talked about it breaking down from $18 at 3 or 4 days ago, finally broke through it, and we're now almost at $16. So here in 4 trading sessions, Barrick goes from 18 to 16. You got Gold Corp, Double G, made new lows, trading down another 40 cents here this morning. You got NEM, the big gun, Newmont, which is still actually trying to hold its October lows. So despite these other ones making new lows, actually Newmont here still trying to hold on, barely. 25.33 has been the low of the move back in October. This thing's trading 25.36, so it's only 3 cents above there right now. You think that can hold there, Joel?
I have no. I mean, these. I don't know. I'm tired of trying to pick bottoms or tops in these things. So, but Dennis, what do you tell people? I mean, do you still have any gold stocks in your portfolio? I mean, is it just time? Yeah. Well, it used to be a lot more, and now it's even less. But
with the way it's moved down, I always, and I run a portfolio for me and my wife, I've got probably about 75 stocks in that portfolio. So, and I try to, just separate it from the trading, from the investing. It's a portfolio that I'll, hold stocks in for years. I've had Barrick Gold in there for years. I hate it obviously right now but they say in any portfolio you're supposed to have a little bit of diversity. But I will tell you, my gold holdings in my portfolio are probably under 2%. So it's very, very low. I mean, they recommend anywhere from 5 to 10 to have gold. So I've been underweighted gold in a long time. I wish I didn't have any, though. When it's going down like that, I wish you didn't have any, as opposed to having 1 or 2% of your portfolio in gold. But I've got a little bit of the SLV, which has been terrible, obviously, and I got a little bit of Barrick and a little bit of Gold Corp. That's pretty much my exposure to the precious metals.
And Dennis, by diversity, I mean they don't mean that you have to have losers in your portfolio.
Yeah, I should just be dumping those out. I mean, that would be the better play, is just not have these things when they're breaking down. But, what are you supposed to do? I've had Alcoa in there for years, too. We'll talk about that one. That one's coming back here this morning. Goldman upgrading it this morning. But, so, some of these times these things do come around, but I don't know. I don't think gold. I think the story is just not good for gold. If eventually we start to get some fear out there in the market, or inflation concerns or something, maybe then gold can find a bid. But it's hard to pick bottoms and stuff like this because it just gets uglier. Like if you were, even looking at the individual miners, if you were picking bottoms in Barrick Gold this year, the thing was up there at $40 basically a year ago, or $35. It just kept going down. People saying, oh, it's cheap at 30. Oh, it's cheap at 20. Oh, well, it was cheap at 15 and then it bounced at 20, but now we're right back here at 16 again. So I don't know, like when that story, ends, that, it's cheap. This is just your classic, I guess, if you look at it like a value trap. They were looking at the Barrick Gold saying, oh, the dividend's great. Well, they cut the dividend now. So, it had like a 5% yield when it was at 16, but they've cut it now. The yield's like 1.2%. So, I mean, now you look at it from that valuation. Well, it looked nice when it had a 5% dividend. It doesn't look that nice when it has a 1.2% dividend. And it doesn't look that nice when their, when their cost of production is sitting there around, $1,000, and we're sitting here, what are we on gold right now, $1,250. So you start getting, and that cost production has been coming up. So you start getting down to gold around 1,100, and a lot of these gold companies probably aren't making money.
Right, and another commodity taking it on the chin here this morning is the crude market. I mean, every time you think this is getting off the mat here, boom, it comes in and big soft. I'm not sure if there was any kind of fundamental news associated with the move this morning. Haven't had a chance to check the wires, but holy smokes, you talk about support here on the daily chart. We had the low of the move at 93.16. That was on the 14th, but boy, we've just been peppering that. 93.22, 93 and a quarter, 93.47, 93 and a quarter. Now you're getting a little bit of a bounce here, but boy, are we due here for another leg down in the crude market.
I don't know. This is a scary story, too. And it goes right back to something that Chris was saying. I liked having Chris on the show there. He had a lot of good tips for us on Friday. And he's always saying, buy strong stocks and sell weak stocks. He's not afraid to buy the highs and sell the lows. And here you are in a situation where these things all look weak. I mean, crude, this is coming on the lows of the year right now. And everybody, it's natural human tendency to think, oh, it's cheap right now, I'm going to buy it. But like we've been saying for the last 2 years, we're in a momentum market. Cheap stocks get cheaper. Strong stocks get stronger. And that's what we see to continue here. I'm not saying this is a stock, it's a commodity here, but at the same time, it's weak, and the technicals don't look good here on something like this right now. And obviously we start to continue to break down, I don't know where we can go, but you're at a market that's sitting up at all-time highs, and crude is significantly off of its yearly highs and actually approaching its yearly lows.
Right, so I mean, here you are, 93.16, the low of the move here. If you are playing it from the long side, you definitely have to be, aware of that. I think you're getting, when you look at the weeklies here, I think you go back. I think you had another weekly low, like around 92.50, but no reasons here to be picking a bottom yet here in the crude market.
We are saying Goldman is active in their trade talking today. They were talking about buying the S&P futures. I think they were talking about selling Australian dollars, but they're also talking about individual equities here this morning too. And starting with Alcoa, your favorite stock, Joel. They are upgrading Alcoa here this morning, and the stock is trading up significantly. We know Goldman, nobody more influence than Goldman on the street, and Alcoa here is trading at $9.58 right now this morning, up about 25 cents on 177,000 shares.
And what was the basis for this upgrade?
Jakey, you got the Alcoa, you got the Goldman report on Alcoa there, or could you hunt it down? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I haven't actually dove into it just yet.
We'll
but
let
it is on my
Jakey
way.
go dive into it here a little bit, but obviously they're liking Alcoa here this morning. And from a technical basis, we were saying, and this is one thing you can look at, that Fibonacci, you always talk about the 50% retracement. Well, we had the big move in October from 8 to 10, basically, just under $10, call it, at 988 or whatever. We got 997, so just under $10. So if you just take in simple math, and I'm a simple-minded, so 8 to 10, pull back, we consolidated right around $9 there for basically the better part of November. We've just been kind of trading between $8.75 and $9. Then we started to find a bid a few days ago. We got that one initial pop where we popped up to 9.30. I know Lucci, was saying, he looks for, when you start to break out there, you get that pop. Well, then it pulled back and gave you another chance to buy it at 9, hung out there for a day, and now we start drifting up here again. So a lot of times you get that one break and then it'll pull back and then give you one more shot at it before it goes. And now Alcoa is obviously taking off here. Now we're sitting back up here 9.59 and only 40 cents off the high for the year.
You did get a 9.59. You're trading right at the high in the pre-market here. That's a gap up for Alcoa. 9.27 was your high on Friday. So if you don't want to chase this thing and you want to wait for a pullback here, perhaps the 9.27 and 9.30 area. Interestingly, after it had that rally up to 10, it made a high at 9.45. When it gapped down, I can't remember what the reason was for that gap down from 960 to 945, but it's working its way back in order to fill that gap. You're right in that gap area here. 962 was the low on the previous day, so you're smacking up just to fill that gap right there. It's a pretty big jump for Alcoa in the book overnight. There probably is some latent sellers in there. This one, if it opens up this area 960 and only does a little juke, maybe takes it down to 955, and then it will take off again towards the $10 level. If not, I think I'd be more prone to see how this thing trades off the open, see if it can come back and trade back. I don't know if it can get back to that 927 level, which was Friday's high.
No way. Not with a Goldman upgrade. Not with a Goldman. If it was somebody else, maybe with a Goldman upgrade, I'm saying this thing's going to continue. I don't. It's pretty priced in at 958, but I think maybe it pulls back maybe to 950. I don't think no way in the world you'll see 927 or 930. I don't think you'll see the 30s at all. You might sneak in the 940s, but I'm a buyer of pullbacks on this thing. I think Goldman has a lot of influence. A lot of people waking up saying, and this is what we were saying before. People are looking what's cheap out there, what hasn't run already. In some stocks anyways. And we were saying the dogs were starting to bark there a few days ago again. Obviously, JCPenney's pulling back here now this morning. But Alcoa here has set up nicely, and I think there's some people that are going to chase this thing. So if you want to make a bet, Joel, I will say it'll kiss at 997. We got to do the math. It's at 957 before it goes to 917. You want to do that?
I'm still licking my wounds over that, steak dinner, so I'm going to let that go.
I still got the steak dinner.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Steak dinner.
I got you guys I got the report. It's a mix of a valuation and fundamental call here. They titled the report "Solid Downstream Growth More Than Offsets Weak Upstream." They're putting it at a buy, bumping the price target from $8 to $11 on their DCF model. They think the company's going to add more than $2 billion in revenue in the coming year, which is another $525 million in EBITDA. So they're liking the fundamental story, but they're also liking what their DCF model is showing. So it's a little bit of a mix there. They're looking at a 19% return on it. So, it's just kind of an all-around bullish report on the name.
Thoughts there, Joel? Are you still going with your 927 possible pullback, or?
No.
I don't know. I'm leaning to the long side on this one. Just maybe, and I'm long the stock in my investment portfolio, so maybe it's wishful thinking on my part here too. But I just think the story, is just starting to catch fire here a little bit again. We saw stocks, in this year like U.S. Steel, X, NUE, that have had very, very strong years. And I just feel like Alcoa has kind of been forgotten. It's kind of the forgotten child. And I feel like the story, could be a little bit different coming up. If it could ever regain that $10 area, maybe it could try to make a march. And maybe Goldman's right with an $11 price target on it this year. I think there might even be a little bit conservative there. I wouldn't be surprised if the thing is higher than that by the end of the year. But who knows? They could come out bad quarter and think it'd be right back down to $8.
It's a weird target, you know. I mean, it's
It is a
trading.
weird target.
Yeah, I mean, you know, why don't you say? I mean, who wants? What are you gonna do? You're gonna buy it here at 9.50 and risk 75 cents and get out at 11? I mean, I'm not quite understand that risk reward. But you know, once these things start going, 10 would be huge. You get a couple closes above 10, and they could be a little bit conservative on that projection.
On the opposite end of the spectrum, Goldman is downgrading Clorox to a sell, CLX to a sell. Very light volume here. It's only traded 850 shares this morning, but just ticked down to 91.5. Closed at 93.70. So it does look like Clorox here is going to be under some pressure. Didn't they? Were they downgrading? Yeah, they downgraded Philip Morris last week and knocked like $3 off the stock. So here's a similar situation. Clorox, $93 stock. You know, maybe it does knock $2 or $3 off the price here with this Goldman downgrade.
So what do they think? People aren't going to bleach their clothes anymore? I mean, what's their philosophy on that?
Jakey, you got the Goldman Clorox report. What do they think?
Yeah, I'll dive in for you guys.
We'll let Jakey go find that out there. And but you know, here's a stock that basically just made a new 52-week high again on that's an all-time high actually, I believe. You know, on Friday, it got up to 94.11, closed 93.70, closed strong. So Goldman's fading the trend here. They're selling a strong one.
91.50 of the prints that you've had in the pre-market. Previously, a major support at the $92 level. So if you get a rally up to the 92, look at that as resistance. Pretty spotty. You'll actually, when this climb that you had from 90 to 92, you only had one intermediary low in that issue at 90.63. Below that, you're looking under the $90 level here. But and this is going back a while. Remember when Icon was messing in this thing?
Yeah.
Remember? Yep.
He's trying to say take it over. He'd get the financing somehow. And the thing was back at like $70, and he kept putting an $82 offer on the table. I think that was back. When was that? Was that back? Yeah, basically at the beginning of the year, I believe it was, or maybe the end of 2012, early 2013, and he was just sniffing around, and he kept trying to get this thing to pop. But the market wasn't even really responding to him because he had said it 3 or 4 different times, and they were just calling his bluff. But here, Icon's done better, than just to let the thing ride. And I think I don't know if he still has his position in Clorox here or not, but it's been a great stock for him. I mean, that guy's just been hot, Icon.
Yep, he cleaned up in that stock.
Yeah, he's cleaned up in a lot of stocks. Like you bring up his company, IEP. Whoa, that thing has just been unbelievable this year. That stock at the beginning of the year, IEP it's like $60. It's doubled. It's doubled this year, 120. I mean, he's had some great positions. Obviously, had the Herbalife long of Ackman. Back, that's made him just a ton of money, and he just continues to, he's the big bully on the street, and he gets in the stock and he discloses it, and the things pop. So he has, probably more pull than almost anybody on the street right now, Icon. So
I think he also upped his position in his company in his last filing. He actually bought more shares of his company up to stay. Yeah, so he's bullish himself. He's got the mojo going.
I gotta agree with you guys. I mean, he's kind of, him and Warren Buffett. They're both the big names to watch out there. But as far as that Goldman report goes, I mean, it's kind of a valuation call, is what they said. They're also a little bit concerned about the company's top line revenue growth. There's a lot of competition out there, and they just think that between the competition and some of their comp sales, it's just not going to be as good as what the street's thinking. Their price target was only $87 though. I mean, that's not a huge amount of downside when you're looking at it, and it was closed at 93.70 on Friday. So, it's not one of those reports where they're going super bearish, but it's about $6.70 of downside from Friday. We're at 91.50 right now is the last trade I'm seeing. So, not a huge amount of downside, but you are seeing a little bit of action there.
Normally, when I look at these things and I see a lower beta stock like Clorox getting downgraded sell, I'd say, well, that'll probably knock $1.50 off the price, But with Philip Morris, what happened with them last week when that stock went basically from $92 and Goldman came out the second day, it knocked another over $3.50 off the price of the stock. And it's a conservative one, too. So that's what makes me think that this Clorox downgrade wouldn't surprise me if the stock did lose $2 or $3 here today, as opposed to what it might usually lose is only $1 or $1.50. So they are following Goldman. They're street. There's a lot of herd mentality out there right now, and Goldman says sell. And a lot of people come out and they're getting nervous. Makes them nervous.
That was a big move for Philip Morris last week.
Unbelievable.
Down to the $85 level. Now you got a little bounce back. I'd say that's going to be a while. I mean, test that resistance at the $88 level, and a little gap to fill there. But definitely for a slow-moving stock like that. I mean, look at that. You had the move up from 84 and change in early October. Early October up over $91, $92, and then boom, in 2 days it's gone. But that won't happen to the market, Dennis. That only happens to a few individual stocks. That will never, ever happen to the stock market.
I've never even heard that up like an escalator, down like an elevator analogy before, so that'll never happen. A couple other ones to talk about. Caterpillar upgraded at Bank America here today, and that stock is trading up about $1.50 here. And this has been a real underperformer this year too. But I will tell you, Caterpillar has found amazing support around this $82 level. It just jumps out like a sore thumb if you look at the chart from the last 5 months. We've been down 81.35. Every time this gets into the 81 handle, it finds buyers and turns around. Same story here. The last 2 days, lows were 81.87 and 82 on the kisser. Closed at 82.88, which was near the high of the day, and now all of a sudden getting an upgrade from Bank America, and the stock is popping back up, but right into where it's found resistance before.
Taking a look at CAT, I believe it did come out with some decent news, decent earnings a week or so ago. Got a pop, couldn't maintain that rally. Rallied the shares this morning. You've hit 84.70 before pulling back to the 84.06 level. Looking at the dailies here, you did have that high. Boy, that pre-market high is coinciding with the high that you had last Tuesday at 84.5. So just looking, I mean, there's not a lot of things. I mean, the highs and a few of the closes are right, at the $84 level. Just a trade the range kind of thing. But I think you get back and you hold that 84, then I think you can target that recent low, that what it had that low on Thursday at 81.87 as perhaps the low of the move. A little swing trade there, risk 2 or 3 points, and see if this thing can get back into the upper 80s.
Let's check out the chart of Deere, and this thing has been in a consolidated range here forever. 81 to 85 and change. This thing has traded for the last 5 months here. It kissed up there after their earnings report last week, right into resistance. It opened, sold off there again off of that report, and now it's come back up, and it's kind of hanging out just here in the upper 85s again. But man, this has been some major resistance. DE
having a little problems on the chart here with the DE. Taking a look at it, not being moved by this upgrade here. 85.08. Use that as a resistance point.
Let's move on here to a few other things that are happening. Medicare. This is announced after the close. Medicare not cutting dialysis payments for 2014, and DVA, which is probably the one that's going to be impacted the most by that, just popped huge on this report. If you bring up the stock chart from after hours, I believe this thing got up to $64 or $65. It's come back down to earth now. It's only trading up $2 at $58.68. But man, if you look at that after hours chart on DVA, what a pop off of that report.
DVA, David Victor Alpha?
Yep.
Okay, seem to be having some problems here in the
DBA, but DVA.
No, I got DVA there up now. Healthcare Partners. Boy, that someone was anticipating that move. Had a nice run up from 52 up over 60 and got a pullback here. Trading up in the pre-market. We've made a pre-market high, right? After hours at ticket 60. I don't know. I mean, after having this kind of run up here, I'd have to take a look at the 50% retracement in this. You went from 53 roughly to 60, 7-point move, 3.5 points. That's 55.5, 56 area. That's what you got to on Friday. So it looks like it's just taking a little breather off that spike over 60, using 56.18 as major support, and next resistance point would be at 59.40. 140.
Is that what you had for the after hours high? You had just only in the 60s? Because I saw this thing ticking up to $63, $64.
Oh, that's right.
Hours.
I didn't look back.
Yeah,
far
go back.
enough.
What was that after hours? Like, just to put it in perspective there, how much they overshot on this.
64.72.
Yeah, look at here they are on a report, not even company specific, but just dialysis payment. They buy this thing up to 64.72 Friday night, and obviously we had huge resistance up there in 65.5 area. If you go back into April, I'm just trying to look at the chart.
Actually,
here,
it was a little slow. I did get it to pull up here. Yeah, that 64.72 was a pre-market after hours high. You've pulled all the way back under 58 here, so wild range in this thing.
Oh yeah, that was crazy after hours. They really overshot. FMS was another stock that was popping on this report, and it is still popping here. You've got the stock trading up at 34.57 right now. This is an ADR, so it's obviously already priced over in its other country there. But 32.22 is where it closed at. It's traded 250,000 shares here this morning, and it's popping up significantly on this. This good news for dialysis makers.
So it's just basically a tenet of Obamacare that is going to continue to be funded, correct?
Yeah, that's my interpretation of that. I don't know if the Benzinga team, has any comments on that or not as well, or if they've dove into that report any deeper than us.
These are wild stocks, man. This thing was up at $33.99 back in October. Then you had the dip under 32 here, so it's getting back up to that. It's exceeded that recent high of the move at $33.99. And going back longer term here, over 35.5 would be your next major resistance point.
So we have some news just break on Walmart here just like 2 minutes ago, because Walmart just popped up over $80, and Walmart's been trading under 80 for a long time here. It's been kind of, running some institutional resistance up there, but it's trading up at 80.20 right now.
Yes.
Walmart.
I see Green Dot received money card portfolio.
Nope. New CEO Doug McMillan named as the new
CEO.
Yep.
Doug McMillan. There we go.
Got a new CEO at Walmart, and it's taken off here.
Effective February 1st, 2014.
New CEO Walmart, and it is off to the races. Just ticked up to $80.35 right now here. 80's been huge, man. 80 is just absolutely enormous on this thing. But if it starts to trade some volume up here, this could be a big breakout for Walmart, actually. Obviously, new all-time highs here for Walmart, closing on Friday. I thought it might struggle to get through the 80, but if this news can press it, you never know here. What's your thoughts, Joel?
My thoughts are that they should have had more shenanigans in Mexico, and the stock would probably be at 120. Remember when that was about a year and a half ago, when they had problems with making payments or something to get stores in place, and they just routed the stock, and boy, it's just turned around and gone back. I mean, looking at the pre-market trading in this, I mean, I'd have a hard time buying Walmart up 61 cents. It's a big move for it. It's a thickly traded issue. 80.45 has been the pre-market high. So if you're looking to short this one or potentially use this opportunity, to get out of long, keep a close eye on where it's trading. 927, 928, 929, as some of the bigger players step into the market.
Let's just look here at Target, just because it was been going the opposite direction there for a few days. They reported obviously bad, and the stock has been going straight down. Actually, it's near its lows of the year, I believe, trading down at 63.70. Low of the year. I'm just trying to grab it here. I believe my charts aren't working that great either. I believe it's just set it back in October around $62. So you only had $1.70 off the lows for Target. So here's two stocks that usually correlate somewhat together, going in opposite directions.
Been looking at this one. They had the bad earnings, which knocked it for a loop, and it hit the support at the 63.50 level, had a 63.49 low on Thursday, and then I think Bank of America came out and downgraded it on Friday, and really couldn't. It did press it through that low there by 17 cents, but closed back above that level. I think if you look at you had a few other lows in the stock back in October, right at that same area here. So this is one where you get the drop. on the earnings, which is definitely fundamental news. Then you get the downgrade, and it doesn't push it down that much farther. So still looking at this as a support point. If it did in fact close under 63.50, I might change my opinion on it. But it's definitely it held in there on Friday. Let's see if it can do the same today.
Walmart just ticked back to 80.03, so everybody that just got excited and bought it up there 50 cents, 60 cents are already being punished here because it just ticked down to 80.03. So, $80 is still huge on Walmart. I'm going to say it's got to keep that level actually for this stock to really, be in breakout mode. If it opens below 80 and can't break through 80, and now it's 80.14. So it looks like they're going to try, but we'll, keep an eye on it here for you. Loser of the day, Joel. You want the loser of the day? Looks like it's going to be UNXL. Unipixel. Anybody dive into the story on this? Maybe Shaky J can go get the story. But something about the SEC issuing subpoenas concerning in-touch sensors or something like that. Does anybody know anything about this Unipixel
right now?
Yeah, because it's trading down 21% right now. At 11.10 it just ticked down to. The stock closed at 14.04, so not looking good here for Unipixel longs.
Taking a look, the pre-market dive here on that news took it down under the 1050 level, took it to 995, and getting a pop back up now, back over
995. They took it under. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah,
Oh,
they actually did that. They did that after the close on Friday, and then had a steady move up here back over the 1150 level. But looks someone's targeting this $11 level as we speak right now to perhaps use cover some shorts after that move took it down to 995. I can remember when intern Luke was here over the summer, and this stock has had a wild ride. I think it was back traded into 30. Yeah, it had that move up to over $40, and it just kept on coming down. And he was like trying to look for a bottom of this thing. And you did get a bounce. From this area, you got a bounce up to 20, but. Once again, if you own a stock and the SEC's looking into it, it's probably not a good thing.
We did the loser of the day. Might as well do the winner of the day here, which looks like it's OREX. I'm looking at my filters here. It's up the most. It's up 21% right now, trading at $6.86. Closed at $5.68. So headline from the Benzinga Pro, Orexigen announced a successful interim analysis of Contrave Light study. Will resubmit Contrave NDA to FDA. So it looks like some drugs doing well there at OREX.
Yeah, got a nice pop up to the 740 level. It's come down quite a bit now, trading under $7. I mean, of course, it had to be a farmer stock with a good trial to get this kind of news. Previously, it had been finding resistance just under the $6 level. The initial pop took it up to 745. Since hitting that 745 level, you have traded back low. It's 660, I believe, 667, trading 23 cents above that. So some early parameters. If you're trading this thing, 667 has been the low in the pre-market trading, and the pre-market high has been 745. Looking longer term here, major tops all at the $8 level as well.
Let's just look here. I'm just looking over at my sheet, but let's talk about some of these biotechs, some of the big biotechs that have really been some of the best stocks of the year. Obviously, Biogen, BIIB, had the ridiculous pop on Friday. I forget, it must have been something with one of their drugs anyways. I can just go grab the Benzinga Pro headline from Friday. What was it? It was lots of upgrades, and then there was something with positive RDP decision, some type of decision. Anyways, Biogen, BIIB, popped up to 200, got as high as 289.97 before closing at 285.61. But here's a stock. If you look at Biogen's chart from the last year, basically, beginning of the year we were down there $140, but if you look at it from the last 3 years, 3 years ago this stock was down there around $40. And now it's $285. So, man, just shows you how hot this sector has been.
continuing today here in the pre-market, you are getting a higher high off that news. So off to the races. I guess you can only use like a $300 level here is a possible. Possible resistance point. I even know why talk about resistance.
Look at that chart. Oh,
288.85 is what we hit here in the pre-market. So getting a little bit of a pullback to the 287.50 level. We'll keep an eye on the close from this. The all-time highest close was 285.62. We're trading $3 above that. That's going to be a minor support point.
where do you think this one ends? Because here I'm going to ask you for some investment advice on this one. This is one of the good ones. You know, I've had some junky ones. I talked about my Barrick Gold crappy position, my Alcoa crappy position. Biogen I've had in my portfolio, and I bought this thing back at $47 like 4 or 5 years ago during the financial crisis. I've sold half the position, which I wish I wouldn't have. I sold half, I believe, at $160. And I've got half left, and I've still got it here. And it's now up at $288, and I'm looking, I'm like, I don't even know where to sell this thing because I'm in at $47. What do you think on this one? Like, I've already sold half, so obviously I've already, you know, taken my money plus out of the position. Do I just continue to let this thing run, or I don't even know what to do with this thing? It looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
When you look at that chart there, it looks like it's got to pull back eventually, but I don't know when.
I would look at that gap up low that you had for Friday at 274.98. Perhaps, you know, put a stop below that level in case something, you know, causes it to, you know, break down and start to fill that gap area. You know, then you'll be, you know, at least saving yourself, you know, 20 points if it does break down below the 275. But on something like this, I mean, it's just impossible to, you know, to put a price target in. So instead of trying to pick a top on the price target, I mean, you know, just let it run, move your sell stop up, and protect the profits that you have.
Other one here that I've got in the portfolio, which has been one of my other best performers, is Celgene, CELG, and I bought this back at $59. I think it was like a year and a half ago. Had some bad news come out, and I was like, you know, I like this company. It had went from 80 down to like $58 or something. I actually got close to the bottom. I think I bought around 59 that day. That the bad news was kind of coming out, and it's been straight up ever since. And this is another one. It got up into the 120 area, and I was like, well, I've doubled my money, so I sold half my position, which basically means I'm running, you know, the entire position with the house's money now. But I'm looking at it here, and this is another one that I'm like, you know, this has been a really good one. Like I said, you got bad ones, so you got to have good ones too to try to offset that. This is another one where I don't know where to get out of this. It's breaking out, making new highs here again, so I guess I'm just holding on for now. Joel?
You've had, looking at it here, you've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 up days in a row.
So it has a down day.
So let the string keep on going here. Perhaps using the 160 level. You had a low at 160.45 yesterday, or excuse me, on Friday. So, you know, you put a sell stop under there and just let it ride to the upside. But in its recent, I was actually, when I was looking at this chart on originally when I pulled it up on the daily here, I'm thinking, oh, this must be a weekly chart, and it's not. This thing is rallied from 142.5 to 163.5 here, and in just a couple weeks. So I guess they're looking for these kind of stocks to benefit from Obamacare. I mean, I don't know, you know, if there's been news or other fundamental information on it, but just historic runs for these stocks.
I know DJ in the chat's been talking about Gilead there for a while, and GILD is another one here that's just been on fire. Here it is making a new high again today, up at 75.35, close to 74.27. But this stock started the year, Gilead, down there at about $30, so 40, just under $40. So quietly, the stock has kind of doubled this year, and this one's just been straight up too. Man, these biotechs have just been on fire.
Yeah, continuing the move in the pre-market here, up another dollar. The only thing I would alert our traders to here is Friday's high was 75.21. That was the all-time high. You're trading at 75.35 here in the pre-market trading with a 75.75 high. So couple, I guess, as long as you hold that Friday's high here at 75.21, good to go to press that. Well, actually, they even got a tick up at 77. I don't know who did that on 1,100 shares, but getting a little active here in the pre-market.
Let's talk about Facebook. This level, Joel, I know you were like frustrated with it because you had some puts and you thought it was going to break down. It's stuck around this 45.80 area. It's like been like this level is just unbelievable to support here. I don't know if in the last 6-7 trading sessions, every time it gets down to 45.80 area, it just bounces out of there. And here we are. We kind of closed weak on Friday, despite the market being strong. Are we eventually going to take this 45.80 level out, or is that just going to be support forever?
It's not. I mean, the thing that I was looking at is when it hit these levels previously, it traded under 46. It had really nice pops out of there. It got on the first time, it got back up to 50. Then the second time, it only second and third time over last week, it only got up to 47 and change. And now it's just hanging here. So there is a pretty good chance, since my weekly 46 is expired worthless on Friday, there's a pretty good chance that it's going to get taken out today.
Joe's asking about PAA. He's also asking about PAGP. Maybe we do a quick technical on those. I believe PAA got in Bank America resumes coverage on plain all-American pipelines and adjusts their earnings after multiple events. So PAA with some news there this morning, and it is popping up here in the pre-market, just on light volume here. I don't know Joe likes these stocks or not. But stock here, I had a decent day on Friday. I was pulling up a little bit here. You do a quick technical there?
Right, I saw those stocks pop up there, and I was looking for some news here. Major resistance in this thing. This is the old when you go to the daily, you got the old accordion chart here. 52. Every time, the last 3 times it got back over this 52.50 level, it had pretty violent sell-offs here. Now you're just hanging back at this 52. I'd say you get above 52.50 here. You can make a nice run with the $53, 53.55. Had a couple tops up there, and then the other one was PAGP. Joe's always good to come up with a few stocks that we don't cover that often.
Yeah, I don't cover this one at all.
Yeah, getting a pop. This is a fairly new issue here, popping up in the pre-market. Got a pre-market high. PAGP. This is probably not just real spotty trades here at the 23.50 level. But if you take a look at the dailies in it, this thing just IPO'd not too long ago, so that might be an all-time high for it. Up here above 23.50. Back in early November, we got to 23.85, so that would be your next level.
It looks like it's a lockup on this Plains GP. That's PAGPSC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new buy ratings this morning, and looks like Wells Fargo started with a market form.
Okay, so now
that's why you're seeing all this coverage today. Right.
Okay, so a lockup, Brent, can you just explain what that is? Like, that's basically they're just allowed to come out with their ratings now?
Yeah, so any underwriters that were involved, I believe it's 45 days. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, they can't initiate any coverage on the stock for a certain period following the IPO.
And that's why we're seeing all these ratings come up. Because I was looking, I was like, holy cow, everybody's talking about this thing. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like 12 brokerage houses initiating coverage on this
You
thing,
usually get a couple of these like once a week or maybe once every 2 weeks. You'll get an issue that is recently ready to go for analyst coverage.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brent.
Yeah, no problem.
Tesla here, Joel. We talked about this whole 119 area. It did take it out on Friday. Got down to 117.93, but did not close below there. Kind of reversed. I almost wonder if we catch a few people leaning the wrong way on that thing. Spiked out of there. I don't know. Tesla's up $1 here now again. That support's kind of still holding.
Right, it did. It probably shook out all the people that had, that all the people that had, the sell stops at 119, 119.20 or whatever, got to 117.93. Couple days of tight ranges. I will notice that this stock has had about 8 consecutive lower highs in a row. You are popping above the lowest of those highs at 122.75. That was Friday's high. So this, it's breaking that trend of lower highs. Usually the first day is a pretty good sign. So this might be something that I might be looking for here as a potential long in the morning, even though it's traded up $1.50. But boy, I mean, there's been a lot of negative news. I mean, it had the earnings and the earnings disappointment, but that's knocked it down. And then Elon Musk has been defending it, as far as the car fire situation. But man, I just think it's going to take some kind of news or take an upgrade or something like that to really get it going.
But it can really turn when they get that upgrade. Because a lot of people are looking at this, and I've had it a couple times even the last few days. People asking me, should I buy that Tesla? I forget who it was. Somebody else was asking me too. Because people look at this, it's a stock that had been taken off and had a great year, and it's pulled back now from 195 down to 120. And they're like, is this the buy? And I got that question 2 or 3 times last week. So it makes me think there is some bottom pickers out there looking to pick bottoms on this thing. You wonder eventually if it's going to find some life here. Obviously, if it takes out that low that we made on Friday, the 117.93, but I'd say if we can hold above this whole 119 area, which I'm still going to say is support, despite taking it out by $1 there, it wasn't down there very long. Like you said, it probably just triggered a few stops, and obviously everybody buys from those stops there, and they try to take it the other way. So I don't know. I'm kind of almost think you could make a trade on it here. You want to stop out below that 117.96, but you never know here. And one analyst is all it takes, and this thing could be, starting to take off again.
Right. Also could have at any time here, could have a retracement from this move from over 190.
Yeah.
So anyways, before we go to Mighty Joe Young with his morning headlines here, S&Ps are trading at 2 points off the high of the day, coming into a holiday shortened week or whatever. What's on your radar for early trading today?
It's going to be quiet, I think. You're going to have this steady climb up here. I'm looking at key levels, obviously. I'm looking at the Procter & Gamble $80 or $85 because we talked about that the last 4 or 5 days. I'm actually short it right now, but if it takes that 85, I'll be quick to get out of it. I'm looking at Coke at 40.5. That's a key level, and that's what we try to do. We try to highlight key levels here, and then make trades off of those levels. Obviously, we already talked about the Facebook. Obviously, we've already talked about the Tesla. Walmart, the $80, which we talked about earlier. I'm still looking at that key level, and interesting enough, the Walmart, if you look at it now here you're on Walmart, and it's trading back below 80. So it got that initial pop on the new CEO, and it's already given it up. So here we are, we haven't even started the day, and now Walmart is not above $80 here again. So that's a big number I'm looking at too. Obviously, these stocks can take them out, their breakout potential. If they don't, though, they're still short potential. So it's all about those key levels.
Okay, all right. We're going to shift gears here and go to Mighty Joe Young with some morning headlines.
Boom, everybody. Good morning. How are you? The Wall Street Journal was out earlier this morning saying that Chrysler Group is set to go full speed to get an IPO done by mid-December, but the Fiat CEO Sergio Marchionne came out recently saying that while supportive of the Chrysler IPO, it is not practicable to have it done by the end of 2013, and instead will aim for first quarter of 2014. All Things D reports that Yahoo is set to announce a deal today with Katie Couric to do a high-profile online interview show on Yahoo's homepage, which could designate Couric as a global news anchor of the Silicon Valley internet giant. That title would change, of course, but so could the deal or its timing. Although it seems set now after months of negotiations with ABC News, which is both Yahoo's online news partner and Couric's current home network. It's not clear when the show itself will debut, but it is likely to center on exclusive interviews with a range of high-profile celebrities, business executives, and more, done by Couric specifically for the web and prominently featured on Yahoo's heavily trafficked main page. The United States Postal Inspection Service is offering $100,000 for information leading to an arrest and conviction in the shooting death of a mail carrier in the Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C. late on Saturday. Police in Prince George's County said that 26-year-old Tyson Jerome Barnett of nearby Upper Marlboro, Maryland, was delivering mail at approximately 7 p.m. when he was shot on Reed Street in Landover. The United States Postal Service spokesman George T. Moffitt Jr. told the Washington Post that Barnett had been a letter carrier for 6 years and had been on the route he was working Saturday 3 times in the preceding month. Walt Disney Company's Pixar animation studio cut about 5% of its workforce following a delay in the release of the studio's next film, according to a report last Friday. Pixar in Emeryville is cutting a maximum of 60 positions out of a total of 1,200 employees following the delay of The Good Dinosaur, about an apatosaurus that befriends a young boy, according to a report in the Bloomberg News. The film was originally to be released in May of 2014, but has been pushed back to November 2015. Amazon is now preparing a new Kindle Paperwhite for release in early of the second quarter 2014, according to TechCrunch. The marquee feature of the new device is a high-resolution screen that will bring the company's e-reader displays back to technical parity with devices from competitors like Kobo. In addition to a higher resolution screen, the new Paperwhite will be getting a few more hardware improvements. We've seen a prototype of the device, which has a front screen that is flush with the edges of the device rather than recessed, and is made out of very matte glass of some sort and not plastic. Despite moving to glass, the new units are said to be lighter than this year's models. Anyone in the U.S. doing their holiday shopping from the product showcases that appear at the top of Google search results is almost certain to pay substantially more than if they delve deeper in the search engine. 5 out of every 6 items in the panel shown in a Google search made in America are more expensive than the same items from other merchants hidden deeper in the index, with an average premium of 34%, according to a Financial Times analysis. The scale of the apparent premium pricing drew complaints from some Google critics, who said it echoed issues that are at the heart of an antitrust case in Brussels, in which the company has already reached a tentative settlement with European regulators. By showing its chosen products listings prominently while relegating other vices or other services, Google may make more money from merchants who paid to have their products featured, said Gary Reback, a Silicon Valley lawyer who represents a number of the search engine's rivals. Microsoft sold 1 million Xbox One consoles in the first few hours of its release. The game consoles went on sale Friday, November 22nd, in many countries worldwide, including the US, France, New Zealand, and the UK. Microsoft reportedly moved 1 million units, which is about the same number of consoles that Sony sold the weekend that it launched its PlayStation 4 in North America. Regarding Xbox One sales, there have been some complaints about some disk issues coming from purchasers, which we're waiting to find out more about. GigaOM reports Instagram is looking for ways to expand its appeal to its community of 200 million and growing users. First, it was short-form video, and next up is messaging. Well-placed sources tell us that the company is gearing up to launch new private messaging features inside its still red-hot photo and video sharing service. It is also experimenting with the idea of group messaging, sources tell. The new features are likely to find home in the next version of Instagram, which is expected before the end of 2013. An Instagram spokesperson, not surprisingly, declined to comment. The Monty Python reunion show on July 1st of 2014 sold out in 43.5 seconds when tickets went on sale Monday morning, the PR agency for the event announced. More shows were announced for July 2nd through the 5th at London's O2 Arena, Neil Reading of the PR firm said. The performance will be the 5 surviving stars' first show on stage together since appearing at the Hollywood Bowl in September 1980. Tickets are priced between $51 and $171, including booking fees. And today's trivia tidbit: America's longest married couple is celebrating their 81st anniversary. John and Ann Bitar eloped on November 25th, 1932, fleeing because Ann's father wanted her to marry a man 20 years older than her. She was 17, John was 21, and lived across the street. Now Ann is 98 years old, and John is 102. They were named the longest married couple earlier this year by the group Worldwide Marriage Encounter. The couple has been through some huge changes, from the Great Depression to wars to the Great Recession, and their family has changed as well. They lost both a daughter and son to cancer. Their oldest daughter is 80, and they have 14 grandchildren and 16 great-grandchildren. Does anyone else have a family that large? Brent?
It's crazy.
Yeah?
No, wow, that's amazing. Congratulations to them.
Erica has a tidbit here. What was that, Erica? Erica's grandmother is one of 16 children. Are they all surviving still
Whoa.
or no? No. Yep, that's right. Erica comes from a large. In case you didn't hear that, all the boys in the family went to the war and they all came back. Those are some brave soldiers. So with that, we'll hand it over to, who am I handing it to? Jake the Snake. Take it away, Jake.
All right, thanks, Joe. Going to give you guys a quick update on some of the movers this morning before Brett knocks out our rating summary. We do have some stocks moving this morning. I want to get started with Walmart after the news of the new CEO broke. Shares were on the rise all throughout Friday's session, so wondering if maybe somebody knew something that was going on there. You had a low on Friday of 78.75 and a close of about 79.80, so couldn't quite break that $80 level on Friday. On the news this morning, we hit the high of 80.45. Last trade, as I'm seeing, is at 80.05. So watch this one at the open. Looks like there's going to be a battle at that $80 level. Volume is fairly thin this morning, but we could be getting some action at the open, especially with some serious fundamental news like the new management changes. Also want to hop into Alcoa, ticker Alpha. Alpha company did receive an upgrade from Goldman Sachs to a buy rating, and got moved from an $8 to an $11 price target. We went over that report briefly earlier, but it's a mix of a fundamental and valuation call. We're seeing a high this morning of 9.59, last trade of 9.53. Volume has been gaining over the last about half hour or so. So keep an eye on this one. Definitely gapped up this morning. We saw a close on Friday of 9.22. So some serious gains there. Watch that one at the open. Alcoa could be a laggard that Goldman Sachs is betting on there. Also seeing some strength in Sirius XM Holdings. That's Sandy India Romeo India. Company was featured in a Barron's article over the weekend. Basically, the article's laying out the company has a huge amount of free cash flow, has a basic monopoly in its market, and it had just launched its 10th satellite. Essentially just kind of going into the fundamentals of the company and where the story may be going. We saw a tick higher this morning at 391. Last trade I'm seeing is at 383 with a close Friday at 369, so a little bit of a boost there for SIRI. Keeping an eye on that one, especially at the open. Volume is getting a lot thicker this morning as traders jump into this one, so definitely want to take a look at there. JCPenney also on the move this morning. That's Juliet Charlie Papa. Company did have a low this morning of 8.50 following its close of 8.88 on Friday. Last trade I'm seeing is at 8.77, so keep an eye on that one. JCPenney, obviously a battleground there. It was mentioned in Barron's over the weekend, but the mention wasn't necessarily a bearish or bullish report. It was just a fund manager talking about how he had made money in the stock and how he had traded it. It's been on a downtrend the last 3 days. Joel, do you have anything on JCPenney here technically? I mean, I'm just wondering if that's maybe what we're seeing this morning. It kind of came off those lows, but it's been trending lower over the last few sessions here.
It had the earnings pop, and then just has kind of been come back it and filling off that earnings news. I think there was something about it being going from the S&P 500 or being into the
that was it.
Yeah,
small cap 400 is where it's getting added to. So yeah, that was it.
I mean, it's hard to make a real bullish case for this stock. It had the earnings pop, got up to 963, but it's been coming really steadily back down off that level. You got to taking out Friday's low here in the pre-market. So let's take a look at the pre-market low. They got it quite a bit lower in this. They got it down to 850 even, and then it got to pop up to 885. So I guess this is just one of those scenarios where if you didn't chase it off the earnings, you let it pull back to fill the gap. That's exactly what it did here. You are trading. I like to see it get it back above the close, 887, show a little bit of strength. You previously had a lot of support here at the 850 level. So if you if you had waited and not jumped in the stock right after that kind of fake earnings move up, this might be a place where you may want to look at it from the long side.
Yeah, it is definitely something you want to take a look at this morning, especially being added to that small cap 400. Maybe causing some fund managers to shift their weighting in it if they're trying to mimic that small cap 400. Also want to take a look at JetBlue this morning. That's Juliet Bravo Lima uniform. The airliner is on the move to the downside this morning after a close of around 9.10 on Friday. Last trade I'm seeing is at 8.97. Very thin volume, but it did break below that $9 level on a downgrade. We've seen a lot of strength in the airliners recently, obviously after that, American Airlines and American Airlines and U.S. Air merger. JetBlue's been on a huge rally. I mean, a couple sessions ago, it was about 2 weeks ago, we saw a low of 705, and just on Friday we got that high of 920. Joel, what do you think of this chart? I mean, I'm just looking back, maybe even it's just 10 sessions, and you have a full $2 gain on it. You look back at the full year, and the low is 489. I mean, it's incredible. This has been quite a rally for JetBlue here.
Right, a little bit of a pullback here on a downgrade. You did make a recent high, the move at 920 on Friday. You're pulling back here. The initial downgrade here took it back down. Didn't even get to Friday's low. Friday's low was 890. You did have a low, or excuse me, Friday's low was 886. Got to 890 in the pre-market. Just reading over the Barron's piece when they were talking about the industry as a whole. You had the big airlines and few of the small regional ones. I mean, this one, the reason I wouldn't get too excited about anything on the downside here is, if there is more consolidation in the industry, perhaps a smaller company like this could easily be acquired.
Absolutely, it could be seen as an acquisition target. Joel, like you're saying, that consolidation in the industry. You have some larger players out there, like Southwest has been really growing in the the Northwestern market. Maybe it's going to try and pick up a smaller carrier like JetBlue. We also see some movement in Sprint this morning. That's just ticker Sandy there. Shares ticked as low as 712 this morning. Friday they closed at over $8. That's a pretty big move there. They've really rallied since then. Last trade I'm seeing is at 777. There was a downgrade on that one from Pacific Crest to a sector perform rating. So keep an eye on that one at the open. Obviously, Sprint is a fairly liquid stock in the market hours, so keep an eye on that one as we head back towards this $8 level. Last one I want to take a look at here is Aria Alpha Romeo India Alpha. Stock was on the move this morning. We saw a high of 444. Didn't quite break up towards that 450 level. The close on Friday was at 379. So just keeping an eye on this one. It's been pretty well in play the last few days. 404 is the last trade that I'm seeing on it. As far as news, I will pull that up for you guys real quick and kind of dive into that one. But it's been rallying pretty hard. Looks like it was you're just kind of following up the S&P. We'll grab some news on that in a bit. But
what's the symbol on that one?
Alpha Romeo India Alpha. We had a real strong session on Friday. A lot of gains in the pre-market. It looks like we're kind of following through this morning as well.
Stock has been hit, and it's just been coming back. Had some real bad news. I can't think of the firm that came out and defended it here, but did make a move, got over the 440 level. Just at least when you're buying this stock at $4, you know what your downside is here. It's getting a little momentum to the upside. Let's take a look at what this issue did in Friday's trading. I mean, these things are all about what news comes out. Hit 404 on Friday, pulled back to close at 378. Now challenging that $4 level again. Got way up there in the pre-market. After hours, got up to over 440 here, 444. Did that at 7 o'clock this morning. Now pulled back to the 403 level. So we'll keep, if you're trying to, play this, the $4 levels key. Friday's high there, 404, and then currently trading at 407. So perhaps you get another leg up for the stock. It's gotten beat up as of late. DJ's come out of the chat room with Mylan Incorporated, Mylan Labs here. generic drug maker, just having a real nice run up here this year. Really, you can't say much about this issue. Did make a couple highs here in the. Let's see what you had here over the last couple days. Double top 42.65 to 42.67. Closed right on that high print there, so still perhaps a seller looking around at the 42.67 to 42.70 area. Going back long term on the weeklies, in the monthlies here, this could be an all-time high for the issue. Chelsea had a question here on Hain Celestial, I believe. A negative piece in Barron's, the stock that makes healthy foods, but they thought it might have a unhealthy valuation here. I was taking a look at this chart, and you're not getting much pre-market trading, so you're not getting a big reaction in the markets to this. I would not get too worried about this thing. You've had major support at the $82 level. No one is knocking it towards there. So, let the dust settle here. But you had multiple lows: 82.01, 82.16, 82. 82.10, so that's the major area. And then similarly on the upside here, if you're trying to sell in the strength, you've had a lot of highs right around the $84 area, closed at 83.67. So if you're a little bit worried here, the 84 should be good resistance. If you're worried about locking some profits here, you tick below the $82 level, and you could have some more room on the downside.
Now, Joel, before we hand it over to Brent to do the analyst ratings, I'm just kind of looking at the S&P minis this morning. It looks like volume is very thin, but all the indexes are looking super choppy this morning. I'm just wondering if maybe there's a lot less traders out there this week simply due to it being a holiday week. But I mean, it's all over the place with on fairly thin volume, like I said. What are you thinking about the S&P today? I know that's one of the primary things that you're watching every day.
It was probably just the sellers went on vacation, and there's still plenty of buyers. But pre-market high, that's what I'm keeping an eye on as the resistance point, 1809 and a quarter. I mean, there's really nothing else in there because we've never been up here. So what I would look for, if early in the trading here, we're 15 minutes away from the open, I'd look for a challenge or take that out. You get above that, taking it out, I think the trend will continue. If you can't take out that 1809.75 within the first 10-15 minutes of trading, perhaps you might come and back and fill down to the close. Now the close is 1801 and a quarter, the pre-market low 1801. That trend of the making the low in the pre-market, it's just been holding up for so many sessions. So until we get below 1801, I don't see even any kind of news on the calendar, any kind of fundamental news coming out that might shake us. But those are the two parameters I'm using.
All right, thank you, Joel. I think without further ado, we'll hand it over to Brent to give us our morning rating summary. I know that's what's moving most of the stocks this morning. So, Brent, I will hand it off to you, man.
Thank you, sir. That's right. We have a relatively quiet week with the holiday season. So, yeah, most of the action today you're seeing is from ratings. Just going to go over a couple of the top upgrades, top downgrades, and don't forget about new coverage. Bank of America did upgrade shares of Caterpillar from neutral to buy. Jefferies upgrading shares of Green Dot, that is ticker G Dot, Golf Delta Oscar Tango, from hold to buy. Stern AG upgrading shares of Finish Line from hold to buy. KeyBank upgrading shares of Meta Assets, Mike Delta Alpha Sandy, from hold to buy. And back to Goldman Sachs upgrading Alcoa AA from neutral to buy. And the last notable upgrade this morning, Bernstein upgrading shares of Stryker SYK from market perform to outperform. On the downgrade side of things, we did have a downgrade of Campbell Soup. I believe we talked about it a little bit earlier. Downgraded from buy to neutral. That was at Goldman Sachs also. Let me just confirm that. Yes, that is correct. Goldman Sachs downgrading Campbell's. BMO Capital downgrading shares of Deere Delta Echo from outperform to market perform. Clorox shares also downgraded at Goldman Sachs. They slapped a sell rating on the stock. Charlie Lima X-Ray, a big call there from Goldman. Stifel Nicholas downgrading shares of QWho from buy to hold. That was following results. QWho did report, I believe it was this morning. Let me check my handy dandy pro feed. That was a little bit earlier this morning. Also, ISI Group downgrading shares of Brocade from buy to neutral. Jake just talking about a downgrade on shares of Sprint from Pacific Crest. The analysts there downgraded the stock from outperform to sector perform. And we did have shares of Time Warner Cable Tango Whiskey Charlie downgraded from buy to hold at Argus Research. Checking out some of the new coverages this morning, we had 7 new buy ratings on shares of Plains GP, that is ticker Papa Alpha Golf Papa. There was just one neutral rating, that was from Wells Fargo. We had a high price target of $30 on shares of PAGP. Plains GP shares currently trading just under $23. Actually, excuse me, in the pre-market session, we are flirting with the $23.50 level. A whole lot of buy ratings. Analysts bullish on shares of PAGP. Also had a lockup expiration on shares of Springleaf, that is ticker Lima Echo Alpha Foxtrot. 3 new buy ratings. The street high target there that I seen was $26. Also one more on the lockup side of things. Gig Optics, Gulf India Golf, receiving 2 new buy ratings this morning. One was from Craig Hallam, one was from Roth Capital. Twitter getting a new market perform rating this morning from Wells Fargo. And Goldman Sachs initiating coverage on shares of Burger King Worldwide, that is Bravo Kilo Whiskey, with a new buy rating and $25 price target. Burger King shares currently trading right at $21, about $4 in upside that Goldman sees in shares of BKW. Let me give you a quick preview on some items to watch out for the rest of this week. On the econ side, we will have a ton of data coming out of the housing market. Watch that XHB ETF this week. Today, later at 10 a.m. Eastern, we'll get pending home sales. Tomorrow we'll be receiving data on building permits for October, I believe it is. And then also later on Tuesday, we will have the S&P Case-Shiller Home Price Index. 3 rather notable data points coming out on the home building sector. Heads up for earnings out of HP, that is Hewlett-Packard, tomorrow. Also, we will get earnings out of Tiffany's tomorrow, Tango India Foxtrot. I believe HP normally issues their earnings after the close. I'm going to have to check back and get back to everyone on that one. Tiffany's also should be after the close, I believe.
Talking about retailers here, Chelsea chiming in here on J.C. Penney, the stock that we just talked about a little bit ago. Really hasn't been reacting well since the earnings. Had the earnings pop up over 960 to 963. You've come back here. You've had multiple lows, 840, 850 area. When that news came out here, just dipped it down to 855. So perhaps a little bit of support here. I think if I was purchasing it in this area here as a longer term trade, you got to use the low of the double bottom at the low of the move, 624, 625 as a potential stop out point. But a little bit shorter term, if you're trying to do it for a swing trade or a day trade here, I'd keep an eye on that 850 as a support level. Just moving on to, we just talked about shares of Tesla that have had a steady downtrend. had found some support 119 area. Did take that out on in Friday's trading, went down to 117.93, but getting a nice pop up here now, trading over 125 here, 125.14. I don't know if we've had any news associated with Tesla here in the last 15 minutes, but taking a look at the daily charts on Tesla, you do have some minor resistance points. We are trading above Thursday's high, which is 124.79. Next resistance up that's closer to the 129 area. So we'll see if there's some news associated with this move, or perhaps just get some nervous shorts that heard us talking about the potential bottom in Tesla during the pre-market show.
I'm seeing some comments from Elon Musk that the Q4 model sales will be better than expected. Trying to track down just where he said this. Let me get back to you on this one, but it really looks like just kind of stair-stepping higher in Tesla. Kind of bumped up against 123, bumped up against 124, now 125, and we kind of broke through all those levels pretty easily, it seems.
And talk about the quietest stock on Wall Street here. Hanging here at the 520 level. Apple has traded, look at this, going back, well, you had that dip to under 514 on Thursday, 513.67, but we've been basically since November 7th been trading between 512.38 and 529.09. I guess it's just a point that if it's not going to go down, it's going to go up here. I mean, you got the icon put underneath. You know the company's buying back a lot of stock here. Failed to move a lot over earnings. I think this might be one that people are nibbling in towards the end of the year to get themselves positioned for the run to 2200 in the S&Ps by Goldman Sachs. So I guess the only thing you can't really identify, the driver is going to be this, but for the fact that it's not going down, it's not getting back below that $500 level, let's look for Apple to trade on the upside. Taking a look at some other issues here. Goldman Sachs out with the big call here in shares of Alcoa, pumping the price target to $11. Trading in the pre-market, trading right at the pre-market high. 969 is currently where we're trading. We made a high in the pre-market at 973. Going on the dailies here, I mean, there's not much until you get to that $10 level, getting into the gap area. The recent high, the move in shares of Alcoa, I guess it didn't quite get to 10. You made a high at 997. Was a high on November 4th before it came off hard. So really another 20-30 cents away here from major resistance in shares of Alcoa. Goldman Sachs with the big upgrade. Dennis just pointed out here, nice move in shares of Best Buy here. Kind of disappointed the street with its earnings, but getting a little pop here in the pre-market. Gearing up perhaps for Good Friday here, up 70 cents in the pre-market, made a high at 40.29, backing off here a little bit, have some gaps to fill here in Best Buy. He made that 38 low on Thursday, but inching its way back up. Major resistance on the day that earnings was released, 41.11. So another 90 cents away from there. You get back over the 41 here, and the correction may be over in shares of Best Buy. If there's any other issues that you guys are looking at, or gals here, a few minutes before the open, S&P's trading at 1806.50, up 550 on the day. Really took off right from the close. Really didn't have a dip at all. The close was 1801 and a quarter. So we'll see if the bulls can defend that level as well. Clorox downgraded to the sell list at Goldman Sachs. Very few trades in this here. was finding did have some support at the $90 level. Looking at the trades here in Clorox, we are below that level. Let's go to the daily here. Perhaps we can find some support. Really, the only trades here, 91.50, but looking on the daily chart, tons of support here at the $90 level. That area between 90 and 92 doesn't look real appealing. You only had one low in between that area at 90.63. So we'll see what this Goldman Sachs downgrade does here off the open here in shares of Clorox. Also keep an eye on a couple of the other consumer durables along those lines. Procter & Gamble made a new all-time high on Friday at $85. Dennis mentioned there was some large institutional selling going on at that area, so we'll see if get a little bit of a spillover effect. CAT was upgraded this morning. Been trying to break above the $84 level for quite some time here. Is trading above there in the pre-market. Let's see if it can hold 84. It's been a long, hard consolidation between 82 and 84. Did it get a pop last week up to the $85 level, but sure like to see it hold for you longs here at Caterpillar. Up $1.52, hold that $84 level off the open. If not, you could fall back into the 83 handle. 82.95 was the high from Friday. Open for business here Monday morning. S&P's opening up here 1405.75, up 450. No resistance up to the pre-market high, which is 1409.25. Basically an 8-point range here early in the trading. So believe it or not, 1805 even. That's mid-range on the day. That is going to be your first minor support point. Let's see if the market can hold in there at 1805. If not, we could be looking for a test of the close. If there's any other issues of interest out there that you guys are trading or looking to trade this week, just throw them in the chat. Would be glad to take a look at them. JCPenney opens lower here, red on the day. 855 was the pre-market low in that issue. Resistance at $85 in Procter & Gamble, large seller here. That's still keeping a lid on that issue in early trading. Facebook, just been talking about the major support here at the 45.70 to 45.80 area. We did dip under that late in the session on Friday, but it's come out of there again. So still have to respect that area as major support until it's taken out. Taking a look at some other issues here that were covered. Sirius Satellite. Favorable mention in Barron's here. You did get a gap up in the issue from that article. I wonder if they got the SIRI satellite from like SIRI and Apple. Is there any connection there? Or am I just making things up again?
You're just making things up again. The Sirius satellite was launched, I think, sometime in the early to mid 90s. So you missed it by a few years there.
Okay. Pop up to 386 in that stock. Going back over the last few trading sessions here, you did have some sellers at the 388, 389 level. We've only got the 386 in today's session, so potential resistance here at that 388 to 390 level. Taking a look at, there was some news on some of the retailers here. I can't even, there's so many of them, but Target here, after 2 rough days, is still just hanging around this 63.50 area here as support. So we'll keep an eye on that 63.50 level. All-time high in Sirius Satellite here. Boy, this could be it. I'm looking. You did a few sessions ago. You did hit 418, and if let me see if you go back longer here. Nope, all-time high here. I do see it trading up to 793 back in December of 2005. But looks like this $4 level, as you pointed out here, Joe. You did pop over it earlier in the month, but you had several monthly highs at the 420, 430 area. So we'll see if it can get back, hold that $4 level, and make another nice run up here. They took out that seller at 85 here in Procter and Gamble, so that's off to the races again here. You got a quick short covering pop up to 85.43. So another institutional seller goes down to high frequency trading here. Another new all-time high here for Procter and Gamble. I believe shares of J&J are sniffing up there around an all-time high, which they should be with the market being at an all-time high here. J&J, which had a all-time high, I believe, at 95, made a new one today, 95.80, new all-time high. Shares of Johnson & Johnson.
Joel, you use, and Dennis use it too, I believe. Use the term sniffing or sniffs the whatever level. Could you just explain that to me a little bit real quick? I've heard you use that a couple times and just maybe not fully comprehending it.
Jason wouldn't be able to understand what that level is either, but we talk about an institutional seller, okay, and there was an institutional seller at the $85 level. So what you have is you have high frequency traders shorting against that size there. And what I meant by sniffing is that once it starts to trade there, then all the high frequency traders that are leaning on that size, will start to get more active and eventually cover it. And then I guess they're sniffing, and then they sneeze, and then they take out the offer, and it keeps moving. So that's that 85 offer kept the lid on Procter and Gamble for several sessions, started to trade up there more and more, and then finally, the people that were shorting, leaning on that offer, took it out today. So I hope that's a good explanation.
That was an excellent explanation. Thank you. Looks like we have NASDAQ 4,003. Can you believe that, Joel?
Short the whole numbers, short the round numbers. Now, S&Ps are falling off here, though. We failed to get up to that pre-market high of 1809 in a Q. Currently drifting down here to 1804.50. We will need to get down below the close. The close was 1801 and a quarter. In order to, the close was 1801 and a quarter. We got to 1801. So really, until that level is taken out, the market is still good to go. Dennis is noting some incredible action here in shares of international business machines here. Let's see if we can take a look to alert the traders. Wow, not a good day for IBM here. See if you guys can find some news on that here. The issue hit 185.75 on Thursday. Now we're trading at 177.88. Basically a 3-point drop off the open. That's probably what brought the futures off the all-time high. I will alert our traders to potential support here in IBM before that big run up to the 186 level. You had a low at 177.35 and another double bottom at the 177, 178 level. So not sure what is hitting shares of IBM this morning. Brent, you got anything on the wires on IBM?
I haven't seen much. Let me check though. Give me a sec here.
Okay, I mean, it could be in for some serious trouble here. Let's see if that low of 177.35 back on November 8th could stop this this basically 3-point straight down move in shares of IBM.
Joe, I'm watching both shares of Ford and GM this morning. I thought maybe that would be kind of a perspective play on the comments from the Fiat guy saying that he doesn't see Chrysler doing the IPO in 2013. It looks like both stocks traded higher right following that news headline. Now, as the markets come back down, I see shares of GM just recently turned negative. Ford seems to be holding up right here, but I don't know. Take a look at either of those, see which one you like more, maybe.
Did he get those comments directly from you, Brent? Because when it hit the wire that they were going to IPO in December, you were like, "No way!" You were very
Thanks for calling me out on that one. I mean, I don't know. With Twitter sort of rushing to the market, I guess everything's off the table, but that seemed like it was pretty crazy if we were going to have a publicly traded Chrysler in 2013. I guess he might have had the Benzinga news desk wired. Maybe they got a little tap in here. Could be the case.
We'll have to look under our desk here after the show is over. But Ford's running a lot of trouble at the 1720 level. You've had 4, 5, 6 highs in that area over the last 2 weeks or whatever, so that's definitely shaping up as major resistance. General Motors got that pop last week when it was revealed that the government was exiting the position in the stock, kind of relieving some of the overhang in it. But it did sprint over 39 when that news was announced. But I guess people are now speculating on where they're actually going to sell that stake here. I don't know if that's been revealed yet. But GM, since that news has come out, it popped over 39 in pre-market trading. Maybe got over there in the regular trading too, but falling back right at Friday's low right now. Friday's low was 37.58, and currently trading, making a low at 37.51. Big support area here for shares of General Motors. And taking a look here at Facebook, the stock that is making me have a sad face this morning, since 46 puts from Friday went off the board here, but we're trading down 40 cents here, right at this support area. I guess it's going to be time to do a revenge trade and get long in this area, but I'm not going to do it. Facebook right here on critical support. This has been holding the stock up here since the earnings, and now it's not. So shares of Facebook well under the $46 level. If there's any other issues that traders are looking at here in the session, let me take a look at them for you. Dennis was noting the unusual activity in shares of IBM. Straight down off the open 3 points, but now seem to be finding some support here at the 178 level.
I couldn't uncover too much in that issue. Just sort of looks like some continuation from the weakness at the end of last week. Down 0.5% on Thursday, down another 1.5% to close the session on Friday, and down almost another 2%. May just be a little continuation. Down about 4% in less than 4 trading sessions. Really didn't like that 186 level. I guess just couldn't hold it up.
Right, and we'll see if the 178 level can stem the tide here. Moving on here, Facebook, we had mentioned, has taken out that critical support here. We'll see if they'll jam the people trying to short it in the hole here and rally it back up. It's already had a buck range on the session. Twitter flirting with some dangerous levels here. Looking at this stock since the IPO here, it seems like a little bit of the shine is off this issue. 40.97, we took out Friday's low. Taking a look here, 40, you had 2 lows at this 40.37, 40.51 from Tuesday and Wednesday of last week. We've hit that area right now, so you do have Twitter here on minor support. Below that, the low from last Monday was 40 even, and the all-time low at 39.40. So Twitter having a hard time here, even getting, now we're clear $5 away from that opening day price. So maybe some people are lamenting here, not selling that stock on the IPO. And before we finish out the show here, good old DJ is looking at some refiners here. So we will recap these three stocks for DJ and then call it a day. The first one, PSX, Phillips 66. Stock is having a nice run here, even with oil prices where they're at. But it's trading at the recent high of the move, 68.80. A hit on Friday, 68.79 the high today's session. So theoretically, you do have it at resistance. Looking at it weekly, the stock did get a pop up to the $70 level. This was back earlier in the year, 70.20, 70.52. So if you could continue through the 68.80 area, not a lot up there until you get to the $70 level. Taking a look, the other two refiners here, I believe that VLO is Valero. Take a look at this issue on the daily. Kind of the same thing. These refiners here are doing quite well. I guess mining the cheaper oil is good. Taking a look at this on the daily chart, the stock has had a nice run up here, falling a little bit short of Friday's high here. Friday's high 44.48, only got to 44.02 here, so starting to find some sellers here in the 44 handle, coming back on the downside. 42.64. The low from Friday coincides with the high from Thursday. So if you're trying to protect profits on that one, another buck away here before you start to take out a good support level. Then the final one here for DJ, CVI. Let's take a look at that one. Another refiner here. It's an energy stock here, CVI. This has not had quite the run that those other two issues have had. Finding some major sellers here at the $37 level. You hit that on Thursday, and 37.13 was also your high on Wednesday last week. So really running into some problems here at the $37 level. If you're looking to pick this up on support, nice double bottom under 36 at 35.64 was a low, and then you had another low right in that area at 35.77. So a couple levels to keep an eye out for in those refiner stocks. So S&Ps to close out the show here, just hanging out here mid-range on the day, 1805. We'll see if we can get down to the close. 1801 and a quarter coincides with the pre-market low, and as right now early in the session, looks like that 1809 and a quarter all-time high holding up early in the session. Have a good trading day, and we'll be back with you guys on Monday. Or excuse me, be back with you guys tomorrow, Tuesday.